They say that breakaways on Zwift are virtually impossible, but I am here to prove this statement wrong, with a 3-man breakaway going for the win. What is up, Zwifters, and welcome back to another Zwift racing video. Just going to be commentating over my latest video, and that is a race on the Crit City course, and this is 10 laps, so run 12 miles and 25 kilometers, and this is going to be a pretty fast-paced ride, pretty mellow for this part of the course, but on the climbs, this group was extremely punchy. I'm going to be talking through a breakaway that I did with 2 other riders, completely unorganized. We're going to show you how breakaways work in Zwift. So first off, you're going to see that a rider is going to shoot off the front on one of these laps leading up into the leading final few laps, and this rider is extremely strong, and he really took initiative over a really slow group, in my opinion. We were going around zone 2 during most of this race, other than the climbs, so it was a really great opportunity to attack on the flat sections and really just get a solid gap, and his gap was growing really quick. So eventually he had around 12 seconds. I decided that I'm just racing for fun. I've been doing a lot of training recently, and I just want to have some fun with a nice Zwift race. So what better way than to do it with a solid breakaway? So I decided that I would try and use my featherweight boost so that I could get a ghost boost leading up into this lap that I was going to do the attack in. So I was ready with my power-ups when it was time to attack, and I really just wanted to make sure that coming into this last lap that I did get a ghost power-up so that I could bridge the gap between myself and the 2 riders ahead. The 2 riders ahead are Jay Profeta from Zorin Optics and Mark Render. So those 2 riders are going to be extremely important in this breakaway, and you're going to see me up alongside them pretty soon. You can see that one rider goes up ahead to try to bridge that gap, but they ultimately don't end up being very successful, but they are still very important in this race, because that means that I have a rider to bridge up to in between the time that I'm bridging from myself all the way to the breakaway. So that will give me a little slingshot and an extra draft boost there, and that's going to be really important because it's just going to help me up just quite a bit more in order to get that bridge, because bridging is going to be the hardest part of getting into this breakaway. Now you can see right here that my heart rate is in the 160s, so I am in a pretty comfortable state right now. My legs are pretty dead from some workouts in days prior to this race, but that's not really going to be a problem. I'm used to racing on tired legs. I've never really raced with fresh legs because I'm always grinding on the bike, which is probably terrible for gaining fitness, but it's fun to do. Alright, so you can see that I do have that ghost boost that I want. I have the play controllers on, so all I have to do is hit Y whenever I want to get that, whenever I want to use that power up. And my goal right here is just stay really comfortable as we go up this KOM. I don't want to use up too much energy, because I know if I do use up too much energy, I won't have enough left for really bridging that gap. And you can see some riders with the fire socks start going, and you can see that there's just that fire of flame. That means the riders are doing around 8 watts per kilo, which is pretty solid for a category B race coming up these climbs. So you can see here I hang in here pretty comfortably. I'm doing around at 350 watts up to around 380 at some points, but really just doing whatever it takes in order to stay with this group. Let's get to the part where I actually try to bridge that gap and really make this breakaway happen. Alright, as we go through this descent, my heart rate is going down to around 180. I'm getting hyped for this. I'm in the drops, ready to just put in a humongous surge. And my goal is to use the ghost power up, and if I do get another ghost, use that second ghost so I can stay invisible and make it so that riders don't end up chasing me and just shutting the attack down. And that would bring the whole thing to an end, because it would mean that the whole group would essentially bridge up to that breakaway, which is not what I want. So right here I start ramping up my power, and you can see that I get into around 8 watts per kilo, 9 watts per kilo now, over at 420 watts, and I'm just trying to hold a power that I know I can hold for actually a decent amount of time. So it's not exactly my 5-second power, more of my 30-second power, in order to just bridge that gap and get some speed going. You can see that as I come here, I do hit 34 miles per hour, and that's mainly because of slingshot. I do enable that next invisibility power up, which is really going to help power me through this attack. And you can see here 31 miles per hour, and I'm closing the gap. I have around 4 seconds on that rest of the lead group, but I'm still around 8 seconds away from the top riders, which is going to be a problem. And I'm thinking right now that this is not going to happen, and that the riders behind me are going to swarm me and try to get back to me. But I end up pushing really really hard, and I really try to put in one more kick here, try to get a bit more of a boost of speed coming into this climb, because I know that I really want to catch them before the climb so I can be locked into their draft as we make our way up this ascent, because if I'm not locked into that draft, I am not going to do very well. And you can see here, I just locked right into that draft, and now it is time to climb. Now, if you are enjoying this video or finding it useful and entertaining, please smash the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,100 subscribers by the end of the year, so please help me make that goal possible. Let's continue on with the video. So you can see here that the riders in front of me are not actually pushing that hard, which is a little bit odd, and I'm finding this like a bit concerning because I bridged up. I did all this work just to try to get up to these riders, but now they're not really pushing anymore, and the gap is starting to close between us and the riders behind us, which is actually getting me really worried here. I really don't want this to be a big waste of energy. I want to make this breakaway happen, so I end up pushing here, and I'm just trying to do everything I can in order to make this breakaway happen. So I do try to lock into the wheel of the rider in front of me so I can eventually move up and take a pull, because the riders do start to slow down quite a bit. And right here I come right by, I push up to around 210 215 watts, and I'm just trying to pull here because I really want to keep our speed up, because I know that as I was in the main group before, I know what the pace feels like and what kind of pace I need to be doing in order to do better than the lead group, which is what I am trying to do here. I really want to be gaining time on this flat part and the descent in order to get some extra time on the group, because I know that in the final lap the group is going to close really hard. I don't want to end up getting caught last minute, because that'll just be a disaster. As I stated earlier, I did want to have fresher legs coming into this race, and I think I really could have done much better in the break if I had that opportunity. But you can see here I am still putting in a solid pull. I'm trying to bridge up to that rider right in front of us, because he's also part of this breakaway, and I want to get us into a solid little group battle so that we can actually get some work done here and have some sort of system where we can take pulls and stuff like that. But I really had no way to communicate with the other riders other than just taking pulls and just doing whatever I could in order to make this breakaway stick. And that's because I didn't want to really chat, because I wasn't sure how aware the group behind us was that there was a whole breakaway in front of them, because the last thing you want to do is just have everyone not know what is going on and then just end up spoiling it for them. That's just a disaster, and that's a whole nother topic. We can see here I'm pushing around 200 watts because I am trying to bridge that gap. The rider behind me, or the rider in front of me, is also doing some work to bridge that gap, and we are doing a pretty solid pace on the front here, going around 26 miles per hour, now around 27, and I want to take a pull here because I want to make sure that we are gaining time on the group as we lead into this next climb. So as we get into this next climb, I am able to comfortably stay with the group, but it's one of those times where your legs are completely dead when you try to hit zone 6, but zone 4 feels relatively comfortable, and that's what ends up happening here. Nobody really pulls, which is kind of annoying in my opinion, and I end up being on the front here on a descent, which is not good considering I am a lighter rider. So I did just do some solid zone 4 to zone 5, just pulling these riders through that descent, and that really got us nowhere. I was just trying to make sure that these riders work, because I don't want to be the only one working the breakaway. That's always the worst feeling ever, and I know I've certainly been that person who didn't pull, and for anyone who's raced with me when I've done that, I'm sorry. But you can see here I did drift off to the side so I could let some other people pull and really just prompt them to pull, kind of give them a little nudge, and they did end up pulling. I just used my invisibility power up here so I can get another power up, but it ends up being completely useless. So you can see here that other rider in front of us kind of attacks us, which is kind of annoying, and we didn't really get anywhere with that attack. We did get a little bit of speed in a few extra seconds, but it really is not as good as if we had actually been organized and done around 5 watts per kilo at the front and just taken turns. That would have been a much more solid approach to this, rather than attacking each other and treating this like we were racing each other. In my opinion, I was trying to work with these two riders as a team and really just make this breakaway stick. That was my ultimate goal with this breakaway. I didn't even care if the other riders outsprinted me at the end. I just wanted to be able to finish in a breakaway and stay away from that lead group, because, or not necessarily the lead group because we are technically the lead group, but the peloton, because the peloton is quickly approaching and we are approaching that final lap, which is not a good situation. At this point, my legs are feeling it, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to make it up this climb. And right when we hit the cobbles here, you're going to see that the rider goes invisible. The other rider turns on his feather boost. I have no power up because, I don't know, I'm kind of just like that. But you can see here that I cannot keep up with these riders. they go all out on this climb, and I am not able to stick with that rapid pace that they're going. And you see here, I put in one last surge just to try to get back up to them, but I literally can't. My legs are completely dead, and I've done everything I could in that breakaway trying to make it stick. But at this point, it was all solo from here. I could have decided to try and keep pushing, but I decided I would just try to drop back and see what I could do in that finishing sprint with the group. Maybe we'd catch them and I'd be able to pull off a solid sprint, or maybe it just ends up being a garbage finish. But anyway, it's fine. I was in the breakaway for a really long time, and I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to bridge that gap as a lighter rider, because it is harder going solo when you are around 45 kilograms as a junior. You can see here we're coming into this next little descent, and I do have actually really good positioning. I'm thinking like, oh my god, I could actually do something really good in this finish. And you can see here, riders are starting to pass me left and right, but I don't really let that bother me because I know this finish from every little inch of this finish, actually, because I've done the downtown dolphin lap so many times that I just know the course like the back of my hand. You see here, right here, I launched my sprint, and it appears that I went a little bit too late, but I actually didn't. You can see that I catch those riders almost instantly, and I end up being out in the front here with my nose in the wind, and these riders just come passing me as my legs completely die. Interestingly enough, the breakaway did stick, and those two riders ended up going 1-2, me not included. So that's that. That's pretty much the gist of the race. I ended up settling for 8th place, which I am pretty proud of. But if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like, subscribe button. And with that, see you all next time, and ride on.